Americans once held one of the most powerful passports in the world. With it, they could travel freely to over 180 countries, often without needing a visa. It symbolized freedom, mobility, and global respect. But that golden age may be fading. Around the world, more and more countries are restricting, scrutinizing, or outright banning American travelers. What changed? Why are US citizens no longer as welcome as they used to be? And what does this shift say about the evolving perception of the United States on the global stage? Welcome to News Nexus. Today, we uncover the growing list of countries where Americans are facing increasing barriers and examine the political, social, and cultural reasons behind this global shift in attitude. To understand what's happening now, we need to look at the past. The strength of a passport is measured by how many countries it grants access to without a visa. In the early 2000s, the US passport ranked among the strongest in the world. But in recent years, that ranking has declined across multiple global indexes. A major turning point came during the COVID-19 pandemic. At the height of the outbreak, over 100 countries closed their borders to American travelers due to the uncontrolled spread of the virus in the US. Some of those restrictions were temporary, but others have led to long-term policy changes. The pandemic forced the world to reevaluate how welcome Americans really are. Let's take a closer look at some countries that have either imposed direct bans or implemented strict limitations on US citizens. Russia. Diplomatic relations are at an all-time low. The Russian government has issued travel bans on American officials, journalists, and NGOs. Ordinary travelers face serious risks, including the potential for wrongful detention. The US State Department now strongly advises against all travel to Russia. North Korea. Travel to North Korea has been banned for Americans since 2017, following the death of college student Otto Warmbier. The US government prohibits its citizens from entering the country due to safety concerns and the risk of political manipulation. Iran. Hostile relations, especially since the withdrawal from the nuclear deal, have made it extremely difficult for Americans to obtain visas. Dual citizens are particularly vulnerable, and the risk of arbitrary detention remains high. Venezuela. Political tensions and mutual sanctions have left relations strained. With no active US embassy in the country and hostility from the Maduro regime, American travelers are strongly discouraged from visiting. China. While not officially banning Americans, China has significantly tightened visa procedures and increased surveillance of foreign nationals. Escalating tensions over trade, technology, and security have resulted in fewer American tourists and heightened restrictions. Afghanistan. Following the withdrawal of US forces and the return of Taliban control, Afghanistan is no longer considered safe for American citizens. There is no consular support available, and the risks of terrorism, detention, or violence remain extreme. Even long-standing allies have introduced more subtle restrictions on American travelers. Beginning in 2025, Americans will need ETIAS authorization to enter European Union countries. This system includes security screening, background checks, and a processing fee. It's not a visa, but it represents a clear shift toward increased scrutiny. Australia and New Zealand have tightened entry requirements as well. Americans with minor criminal records may be refused entry. Immigration officers are enforcing laws more strictly, and border screening is more rigorous. Japan has introduced new entry protocols requiring proof of return travel, financial means, and travel details. Visitors from the US may face delays and additional screening at ports of entry. Canada now routinely denies entry to Americans with DUI convictions or certain offenses unless they apply for special waivers. Why are these changes happening? It's not just about international politics. There are deeper cultural and behavioral patterns at work. In many parts of the world, American tourists are perceived as entitled, loud, or culturally insensitive. Social media has amplified these stereotypes, spreading videos of poor tourist behavior that tarnish the image of all American travelers. Over-tourism is another factor. Cities like Barcelona, Venice, and Amsterdam are overwhelmed by visitor traffic. In response, local governments are implementing policies to reduce mass tourism, often affecting Americans who make up a large portion of global travelers. Environmental concerns are playing a role too. Countries like Bhutan are adopting high-value, low-volume tourism models which limit the number of tourists and emphasize eco-conscious travel. Mass-market tourism, commonly associated with American visitors, is being discouraged. There's also a growing wave of anti-American sentiment. Pew Research Center surveys show declining trust in U.S. leadership across Europe, Asia, and Latin America. In many regions, less than 40% of people say they have confidence in the U.S. to do the right thing in global affairs. That lack of trust influences travel policy. Finally, reciprocity matters. The U.S. has some of the most restrictive entry requirements in the world. Many countries are now mirroring those policies, making it harder for Americans to enter. So, what does this mean for U.S. citizens who want to travel abroad? First, always research your destination thoroughly. Don't rely solely on U.S. sources. Consult the official immigration websites of the countries you're visiting. Second, carry proper documentation. Proof of return travel, hotel bookings, and financial means may be required. Third, respect local customs and laws. Learn basic phrases in the local language. Dress appropriately. Avoid behavior that could be seen as disrespectful or arrogant. And finally, don't assume your passport guarantees you a warm welcome. The global landscape is changing, and travelers need to adapt. The world is still open, but it's more cautious, more selective, and more demanding than ever. For American travelers, that means being more informed, respectful, and flexible. What do you think? Are these restrictions justified or unfair? Have you encountered difficulties traveling abroad as an American? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe to News Nexus for more in-depth coverage of global affairs, travel trends, and international perceptions. Stay informed, stay respectful, and travel wisely.